Welcome to Dexian Talks, the Global Capability Center Leader Series, where we bring you conversations with the GCC leaders shaping the GCC landscape in India. Today's guest is at the intersection of healthcare, AI, and GCC leadership. He is the Senior Managing Director and Technology Head India at Carelon Global Solutions. He comes with over 2 decades of experience across healthcare strategy, global delivery, and GCC leadership in India and in US. He is driving workforce of the future. He uses data and digital health to make care journey more simpler and more human. Let's welcome our guest for today, Mr. Pawan Sachdeva. The hosts for today as well are Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan, the Vice President and Country Head of Dexian India, and Mr. Anilesh, Seth, the GCC Advisor.
Thank you, Pawan. Thanks for coming. So we're trying to create as many videos on the GCC. It's especially about the GCC journey of various leaders. The intent of this video is, at some point of time, if any one of the companies, especially in the mid-market segment, in US or around the globe, if they wanted to start a GCC in India, or a Global Competency Center in India, this video should help them to understand what it takes to build it here, right? And I don't have much better words to say. 2 big giants here, Carelon founders of GCC in India. So happy to discuss with both of you. We'll go through the journey. Okay. So I would probably start with the Carelon itself, then we go on to other stuff. So which friend wants to start first?
First of all, thank you so much, and it's a privilege to share the stage with Anilesh, who is a genuinely guru of GCC world. So thanks for inviting me and giving me opportunity to be on the same stage as Anilesh. So Anilesh, thank you so much for all your leadership and mentoring.
It's my pleasure too.
Thanks so much, Pawan, for coming. You and I, we worked very closely together to create a very strong foundation for Carelon. After that, I moved on, but you continued and you helped grow the organization to where it is today. So, in the context of what Kumar talked about, if you were to set up another GCC, what would you do different?
See, what would I do different? Probably redefine the business case very differently.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, what we did initially when we were setting up Legato and now Carelon, like we rebranded it to Carelon.
Okay.
Our business case was purely on op gain. That okay, moving work from vendors will give us this much efficiency. So, which we all know is the underlying need for all GCCs to start and put together a business case. But then after that, changing that mindset becomes very, very difficult in the organization. Versus if you build that narrative from the beginning that we are setting up this GCC for a value addition and making it a true capability center than a center which will give us financial benefit.
Very interesting. So follow-on question to this, right? Carelon is a large GCC, and it's a GCC that's been set up by a very large organization in the United States, Elevance.
Yeah.
Wouldn't this be something that large organizations would be looking at, driving it from a cost perspective and then looking at deriving value from innovation in other areas subsequently, as opposed to maybe a smaller or a mid-sized GCC that comes in upfront? Do you see any differences there, or does the same thing apply?
And probably which you can give the background of what's the size which you guys are talking about. It becomes useful for.
So we are one of our fastest growing GCC in India. We started our journey in 2017, where leadership hiring and all that happened, and I also joined in 2018, but offered in 2017. So technically our first team which came on production was in May 2018. From there we have not even completed full 8 years, and we are sitting at about 18,000 employees in India. Wow. Plus about 8,000 in Philippines.
Okay.
So overall it's an entity of about 26,000 employees between India, Philippines, Ireland and Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And I want to clarify, in the first 2 years we went from 0 to 7,000.
Yes.
So I've got to add that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's sheer size.
And our original business case was about 3,500.
That's correct. Absolutely correct.
Fantastic. Okay.
But then yes, going back to Anilesh's question, yes, there is a significant difference between small entities versus large organizations like us. Key difference is, in a smaller organization, you need only one sponsor. You work with that individual and grow the center.
True.
Okay, but in larger organization, you need to manage multiple stakeholders, align multiple leaders to make sure they all are considering your GCC in the same way.
Okay.
That way, there should be lot more harmonization between US and India.
Okay.
And then another important thing where typically large GCC are uniquely positioned in India is they have ability to break the silos. With this such large organizations grow with a lot of acquisitions and merger, and over a period they end up creating a lot of silos within the enterprise.
That's true.
Right.
Okay, and that is where India or Philippines or any GCC is uniquely positioned to break those silos, because in GCC most of the employees from various teams are sitting under one roof, have ability to connect the dots, solve the problems much faster, and then identify duplicacy, redundancy in much more effective way and a faster way.
Okay, I'll come back to that silos, but like since you both are discussing the scale and size, and you also mentioned about multiple stakeholders are out there, but somewhere in 2017 somebody should have thought about it that like we are going to set it up, and at that point of time the multiple stakeholders won't be there. As that is a start, and that starts come from somewhere, the sponsor. How did it happen as a journey in India? Is like there should be something which worked out. A consulting type company helped them, or individually they did the assessment, or you both like a gurus explained to them about the India. What happened?
So maybe let me jump in, because since I started this journey before you came on board.
I was about to say.
So there was one person in the US, right, and his name is Rajat Puri. And he raised his hand in a transformation meeting and said, we've got a great opportunity out here. And they said, why don't you go ahead and create a business case out of this?
Okay.
So he says, okay, now how do I do this? Let me look for somebody who understands GCCs and has done this before.
Okay.
And through some reference, he and I got connected. So I was an independent consultant at that time.
Okay.
So I joined hands with him to create the business case and the strategy for setting up Legato. At that time, it was called Legato. So the most part of 2017 went into the strategy building, identifying the initial stakeholders. And Rajat was appointed as a sponsor from that side. So he and I worked together, joined at the hip, to really put this strategy together. And then we started onboarding the leadership team, of which Pawan was one of the first people to come on board. So that was the genesis of how this thing happened.
Okay, fantastic. So which means
on a lighter note, there are very few days when I wake up early. I'm a late night person. That was also one day. My interview was during breakfast of US leaders. So I was the first candidate whom they met during breakfast, and again the last candidate whom they met after meeting all candidates, just to get more insights. So
this was at the Leela, right?
That was Leela Palace.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And today again, I woke up early. It's going to be a fruitful discussion.
No, fantastic. But it's an interesting thing. So it starts so small. The idea is ideated with a very small thought. But within a year, 3,500. And now it's 17,000. The scales are like kind of something which you guys should have done intentionally or unintentionally right. There is one underlying cultural thing which is aligned. And that's one of the reasons is like kind of it would have gone. And of course, like I didn't know how many departments are created, how many, is it just a cost center or it's beyond that one. There should be something which has driven this one. What is that one thing which you think in your own way, the intentions which you wanted to put it, which has come out, right? And unintentionally there are other backgrounds which worked out.
I'll let Pawan answer that one.
So
I might be biased here.
Yeah. See, I would say one, obviously leadership support plays a very, very important role, need not to say. But then kind of leader whom we hired initially came with that experience of working in a global organization, understand some of the secret sauces, which is when you are working in a global environment, you need to be open, you need to communicate effectively. Reason being, anyway there is the cultural barriers, time zone differences, and if you are not communicating openly, not speaking up your mind, keeping things in your heart, it's not going to work. Nobody will be able to understand what you are thinking unless you call it out loudly. And then be genuine about what you want to do. Be transparent and build genuine relations. I personally believe that helped significantly. Even today, all the leaders who were from that time, whether they are in Elevance or outside of Elevance, we all still have a good, healthy relation, which helped us
Yeah.
grow and mature the center together.
I think you said it all, Pawan. That was well said. All I'm going to add is that it was one key aspect of this was the connection between, let's say, Rajat, who was a sponsor, and the rest of the team in India. Very strong, tight connect was there. It was more of family than it was of somebody from US instructing us as to what to do. From the India end, I think this has been the best leadership team I've ever worked with. I've been fortunate, I've been privileged, I've learned a lot. Hopefully they've learned a lot as well. And when you look at people like Pawan, they've grown in their career. So I feel very happy when I absolutely see that. The best team I've ever worked in my life. And I think Legato, now called Carelon, is very fortunate to have all of them.
And collaboration was true collaboration, not just cooperation. Many times
Well
what
said,
happened, you
well
call
said.
it a collaboration, but it's not a collaboration.
Yeah.
When you go and ask somebody for a help, they'll say, yes, I am in. But they are not full-heartedly in. But here, nobody was waiting for someone else.
Okay.
The moment you see opportunity, you all were jumping, whether it is my area or someone else's area.
Okay.
So it was a two team which was working in a collaborative manner.
Okay.
Nobody looked at job descriptions.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the fact.
Yeah.
Nobody looked at job descriptions.
Like from finding furniture at the technology head.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And finalizing food vendors, doing a testing of food every day. We did all that together and we enjoyed it thoroughly. Rather, that helped us build a bond,
Okay.
which we all cherish even today.
Okay. No, that's true. And it's in the healthcare industry, right?
Healthcare
Of course.
insurance.
Healthcare insurance. So obviously, it's like kind of very toughest market to penetrate, and toughest market to even have outside US with the HIPAA and so many other compliance. So the initial years to convince like each and every step when you guys are doing it. How was it? So I'll just start with my experience, like
Please.
the convincing part of it. It's generally as a company, but like then specific to the industry. Even we are in the people business, and to start setting up something, especially like kind of away from US, with so many other stakeholders, as you guys said, it was a step by step. It did not happen as like overnight, and we scaled up to now 2,100 people. But the thing is, we did almost like kind of every process which was happening in US got transferred here. So I would probably say right now we have 60% of the contribution comes from India of the overall global work which has been carried out. So the way the work which happened over a period of time, as you said, one side it's humility which we need to carry, but the humility always keeps you very silent, and you have to keep marketing what you are doing. So as a two sides of the coin, right time you toss the coin to make sure that like it falls in your way. So that's how the journey began, and 12 years over a period of time. So I'm so proud that like it worked out well, and it created a lot more job opportunities and also created a lot more values to the company. We did about 7 M&As during the process, and all these are done with this team. So proud about like kind of going to go through that one. But this is a normal any other industry. People business is like people business. So not much of I would say compliances. But in a healthcare, it's not like that. HIPAA and so many other requisites, and every employee has to go through the training and the personal informations, so many patients' information, things like that. How was it possible?
See, one is obviously regulatory needs, which are well structured, fortunately. So you know what you can and what you can't. There are a lot of clarity and very few areas where you have ambiguity or gray space. But then we were fortunate. We were not the first one in healthcare. Optum was another company before us. So that way, that gave us some best practices from them also, what is possible, out of possibility. And then our compliance regulatory teams are very, very strong, where we have clear demarcation what we can do. And then under leadership of Rajat also, we created a small offshore governance committee, OGC, which ensured whatever work is getting transitioned to India or Philippines is as per regulatory need. We are not doing something which we should not be doing sitting in India. Is one piece, regulatory. But then creating that passion, creating domain awareness among employees was very, very important role.
Okay.
Because unless you understand what you are going to impact,
Okay.
it's not a like food supply kind of a business where if today you don't deliver, it doesn't matter, you may deliver it tomorrow.
That's right.
There are hefty penalties and there are true human impacts.
That's right.
So how people can be sensitive about the domain, sensitive about members, that was a difficult task, if you ask me, more than regulatory needs. But then together as a leadership team, we all worked, put together a great curriculum plan. I still remember going to Anilesh for asking for some approvals to have various levels of HIPAA trainings and healthcare trainings to create healthcare domains experts within ecosystem.
Okay.
And also conducting a lot of hackathons, offsites, so that we all kind of work as a one team and build that culture where we understand what is healthcare and what impact we are creating together.
Okay. And it's multiple industries, right? UHG. You've been kind of traveling mostly into the healthcare line.
Yes, I can say I'm growing in healthcare only.
Okay.
It's been close to 2 decades now.
2 decades now. Wow. So interesting.
If you want to add anything else on that,
please.
regulatory and domain.
I think you said it all. Maybe I'll try to put a little bit of a formula behind this, which is, and keeping the regulatory part aside because you've already spoken about that. The formula for success is there has to be a need, right? And this was born out of a need for transformation by the parent organization. So there was no push as such. In a certain sense, there was a pull. There was a need that was already there. And then there was a person who raised his hand and said, I think it's a great idea. Let's do it in a particular way. So if there's a need which everyone is aligned with, there is what we call a central mandate to go ahead and do something. So A, you have a central mandate.
That's right.
Second part of that equation now is if you have a central mandate, you have to identify your initial coalition of supportive leaders who are going to say, I'm going to make this happen. Doesn't matter how. So there are going to be 2 sets of leaders. One set of leaders are going to be the business unit leaders. Let's say somebody is handling a process like claims processing.
True.
And that person will say, I raise my hand and I'm going to make sure I have my team in India. Whether they stumble, whether they fumble, whether they learn along the way, I'll make it happen. So that's one kind of leader. The second kind of leader are the support leaders. You need finance functions, you need treasury functions, you need real estate functions, you need legal functions. They have to be agreeable to the fact that there's a huge transactional cost, and now setting up a subsidiary 10,000 miles away in a different time zone, and it requires governance. So there's a risk aspect to it, there's a governance aspect to it.
True.
So we put this coalition of supportive leaders in place.
Okay.
Then you hire the right GCC leader.
Okay.
These 2 people come together to create the right operating model,
Okay.
which you then iterate over a period of time. That's the formula.
Okay.
Yep. Very well said.
I'll come back to that the talent and the training part of it. Before that, you touched one interesting point: the site leader, which is such a key role.
Right.
And you also touched about the business leaders, like who runs the business, and very specific to the domain. And there are other support leaders who are there, shared services, which includes finance and real estate and everything. For a GCC leader, should he be a business leader or very specific domain specific person or a generalist? How does it work? To me, is like kind of, I worked in different industries, I worked in different domains, and every time I acquire new knowledge, it's just like kind of helped me.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be fortunate to get so many varied experiences. That requires either the stars should be aligned for somebody, or some mentor should be there to take care. But generally, as a GCC leader, when somebody wants to look at it, a generalist would work or a specialist would work in that site leadership.
What's your?
I would say there is no perfect answer to it. It depends on multiple parameters. First parameter or lever is size of the organization and your expectation from the site lead or center lead. Okay. Second, the kind of work. Let's say when we started, we were doing multiple kind of work: technology, operations, call centers.
Okay.
So now you cannot have a one leader who understands and expert of all this.
That's true.
Then having a domain expert or GCC expert would be more appropriate. Versus if you are setting up a GCC only to do a tech work, then obviously having some level of tech background and GCC background or tech and domain background is going to be helpful. So it cannot be all. It's very, very difficult if you say you need domain function as well as GCC leadership together, then you are filtering market too much.
Okay.
But then best way is start with expectation what you really want to achieve. What is the roles and responsibility of center head based upon the operating model.
Okay.
When we set up Carelon, I did not come from the healthcare insurance industry at all.
Okay.
So, I mean, I learned from guys like Pawan, and he came from the healthcare insurance industry. And so, I think back to your point, it all depends upon what your expectations are.
Yes.
In the initial stages, and again taking Carelon as the example, in the initial stages, we were a startup. And domain knowledge, etc., really didn't matter as far as the GCC leader was concerned. It mattered as far as the rest of the leadership was concerned. There it was important.
Okay.
And we hired accordingly to that.
Okay.
As it evolves into a larger entity today, and I know that the person who's now heading Carelon, he doesn't come from a health insurance background either.
Okay.
Right? And the organization has grown successfully.
Okay.
It's evolved. So I don't think it's a requirement.
Okay. But generally, the mid-market companies, I think probably they are more specific to their work.
See, because
So I
their
think-
work is specific.
Correct.
See, there are multiple operating models, as we know. One is landlord model, where country head or site head is responsible for making sure execution of site appropriately, regulatory and compliance needs are getting
I
met.
like the landlord model. Yeah. Your concept. Yeah.
Again, this is I learned from one of our consulting firm. So they use it this very often, and I keep talking to them, so that word has come on my mind also. But then yes, in that model it doesn't matter. Here you need a generic leader or a leader who understands how to work in a global environment and also how to execute effectively, how to bring people together, how to build that culture, how to make sure compliance and governance is taken care.
Okay.
So that's a very different model versus when you hire a center head or country head with the expectation that this individual has to get involved into function and own a function. Then obviously you need either functional or domain expertise.
Okay. Again, country leader, I know, is like kind of we can, over a period of time, the amount of knowledge which somebody acquires becomes obvious leader choice. But for the rest of the people, so you guys, massive workforce. You said that training is one of the things. It cannot be a cosmetic training, right? It has to be day in and day out, a job done for people, and everybody has to do almost this work in a standardized format. So when you are creating such a training curriculum, training model, what went into your thoughts? Because GCC obviously, when a mid-market or a large companies, when they are trying to set up in India, that's one of the things which as a GCC leader we always say, learning and development is very important, training is very important. Generally organization look at it, training means it's a soft skill training, not beyond that one. But culture building is one other aspect of it. That's how I think the scale up will happen. So how do you visualize the training? What has been put in for your past experiences, and what do you look at in the future for the GCCs in the training space?
I think we looked at about 5 components of training. Right? When a person comes on board, there's an initial onboarding piece. The person needs to understand, what the company stands for, the company's values are, who the leadership is, what the organization structure is, what are your overall policies, etc. So that part of indoctrination is absolutely required and important. Right?
Okay.
And the second part is the whole cultural piece. So, and a lot of this is also ongoing as you go along, as you rightly, soft skills, cultural piece. So that's the second part of it. The third part of it that comes into it is all to do with domain.
Okay.
Without domain knowledge, you will not be able to add significant value to the parent organization. And therefore, bringing domain skills is going to be super. And you won't always get people with domain skills, so you need to make sure that.
Was there hesitation from the parent company to transfer the domain knowledge?
No hesitation at all.
Okay.
No, none whatsoever.
Okay.
But you have to put the mechanism into place. The fourth one is when somebody is actually deployed on a project, let's say it's a technology project or a business process, the specifics of what they need to do, what systems they are involved in, the processes, the maps, the diagrams. So that part of it also is required for them to do. So that's the fourth piece. And the fifth is ongoing technical upgrade as your organization grows.
Okay.
So these are the 5 pieces.
Fantastic. But when you build the good training model, does it give you enough sleep in the night, or still it's a late night sleep in the day early?
See, it was a fun. When you are doing something for fun, you don't get tired or you don't
Very
feel
well
you
said.
are working beyond your working hours. But then another important aspect, though Anilesh touched upon it, culture. But then we were clear, like there are 5 culture values which we as an organization had from the beginning. So how to demonstrate those and how to make sure all new joiners are aware of those culture values.
Okay.
Okay, and then there was a dedicated curriculum which has been put together to create culture master champions. Then every month we were talking about certain themes, and then giving a tools for people to implement and use those culture values in their day-to-day life.
Okay.
So that also played a vital role in building a culture where everybody thinks in the same way.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to put a slightly different angle to it, because we both work so much on the GCC, and I also, and we all came from initially from a services background. That also puts an interesting question. Most of the services organization in the past, they always used to show the differentiators. This is what we do, right? And slowly in a GCC world, differentiators becomes integrators. You need a lot of people, and we were talking about it, Anilesh, like a real estate company becomes a GCC service provider, your banking operations becomes a GCC service provider, any good training institute or training curriculum companies become a service provider. So many people are converging into. I'm not going to show the differentiator now. I'm going to show how I'm integrating well into overall ecosystem into the GCC. Is it how much interesting it is in the years to come for a GCC work?
Yeah, I personally feel GCC word is getting abused. Everybody know there is a tide of GCC going on, so everybody is taking a ride on that tide of GCC word. Because I personally asked this question to one of our real estate company. They said, "Oh, we are GCC expert." So I thought, okay, how it is different? Let's say I come to you individually as Pawan Sachdeva.
Okay.
Will you not show me those spaces which are available in the market? If I need similar, I have a same requirement, I need 1,000 seats. I really want to start a big company, but I'm not a GCC, I am a entrepreneur sitting in India, but I want to have 1,000 seats.
Okay.
How it is going to be different from GCC? They said no, but then many times GCC have certain requirements. So I said it's about requirement. I may have a very different requirement. I'm a large scale GCC versus small scale GCC may have a different requirement. Technically, you are expert in showing me what are the available options in the region.
Okay.
So how it matters to GCC, unfortunately I was not able to get a very good answer. So that is where I feel many times this GCC word is getting abused also. It's not about everybody has to be in that ecosystem. Similarly for banking, like how it makes a too much of difference whether you are opening a bank account for GCC employee versus other employee.
Okay.
But then beyond this enabling functions or enabling industries, ecosystem is playing a very, very important role. And one differentiator which I have seen personally last 3 years more than past, some of these large tech product companies also had their GCCs from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay, but they were never talking to India GCC.
Okay.
They were talking to HQ. So let's say Pega, hypothetically take example of Pega.
Okay.
Though Deepak is a good friend, so not saying hey, he was not helping. But if I had an issue on Pega, I used to report that issue back to my US counterparts. My US counterpart would have a relationship manager assigned from Pega US. They will talk to them. Then they will assign work to somebody within Pega to fix it. And persons must be sitting in India only, because for them also 65% of engineering teams are sitting in India.
Okay.
They will fix the issue again, full cycle.
Okay.
But now India GCC, there is a leader from each of these tech products companies sitting in India who talks to India leader as and give us same respect and value as they were giving to HQ.
Okay.
So that's a big change, and which is a big differentiator.
Okay.
And that is where GCC can add a lot more value now.
Okay.
With this partner ecosystem.
Okay.
One is obviously this tech partner, then obviously a lot of support from government, startups, academia, all that is working together very well. And there are a lot of governing bodies which are bringing all these entities together.
Fantastic. No, it's a full force, right? Like otherwise, this many GCCs would not come in a too short a period. So your views, sir?
I'm going to give a slightly different angle to this, maybe not the ecosystem part of it as such. Let me just talk a little bit about the talent, which is a part of the ecosystem. GCCs today have brought the world to India, right? And what that means is it's created an opportunity for the ecosystem to evolve with a truly global mindset. And I think that's a huge positive that has taken place. We are bringing global careers for fresh graduates in India, which was earlier not possible. Earlier, people would say, I'm doing my engineering, I aspire to get my H-1B, a green card in the future, I'm going to become a US citizen, and, I'm going to go work for Walmart, I'm going to work for so-and-so company. Those are their Google, those are their dreams. All of that is being realized now here in India.
True.
Right? And the ecosystem has now evolved, whether it's from a training perspective, from a real estate perspective. People talk about things like agile workspaces, creating the same kind of workspace that you have, even better than what you've got in the parent organization. That evolution has now taken place in India. GCC is, as you rightly said, is a term that is highly used. NASSCOM and industry, they need some terminology to talk about it, and they've used that, which is fine. In reality, it is nothing but a globalization model that is being utilized by parent organization to create capabilities wherever it makes sense.
Fantastic.
It might happen in Poland, it might happen in India, and in India, they might set up some research facility in the Indian Institute of Science, or they might set up their own subsidiary, or they might work with a company like TCS or Infosys, or they might work with a startup, or a combination of all of this. That is the ecosystem that has evolved.
Okay. And all this happened because in the early part of the IT services boom, most of the people travel from India to US and other geographical locations, and now they wanted to come back to India, so they are creating a value in the ecosystem to build the GCCs in India, or it's much beyond that one?
I think it's much beyond that. It's much beyond that. There are still people who are aspiring to go to overseas countries and establish their careers. No two thoughts about that. But I think it's significantly much beyond that. See, what has happened is connectivity. If you look at data connectivity, for instance, that has evolved significantly. There was a time when you had to dial in using a modem, and you would have to get those funny sounds, and those things would get disconnected. So ranging from that to cell phones to the communication tools that have now evolved. Everyone is on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or one of those things. Talking to somebody across borders has become so simple and easy that collaboration has become instant and doesn't really matter where you are. All of those things have evolved to become realities. Plus, we always forget to give credit to some of the earlier players who came in. Whether it was Texas Instruments, who started way back in 1985, followed by companies like HSBC and General Electric and Samsung. These are some of the earlier players who had come in. A lot of lessons from there, and a lot of realization that we've got things that we can do more and better. There are things that we are focused on that require data security, intellectual property protection, which we can't give to an outside company.
Sure.
And now suddenly communication has evolved that we can do it through our own facility in India. I think all of these have come together to make this happen.
Fantastic. Now, before going, the GCC word which you talked about, I'll tell you, because we are in the people business, and some of the times, like when companies ask for, earlier they were used to ask green card candidates. Now they say, can I find a candidate in a GCC? So just a same usage, yeah.
But then one good thing with all this is exposure has increased significantly for the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
Being it startup, being it your parent company sitting in the US or Europe or anywhere in the world, versus your engineers or college grads.
Yeah.
Not just engineers. The kind of exposure which everybody is getting now due to virtual world and hybrid world is really amazing.
Okay.
Which is creating a lot more opportunities than it has created in past. Like for example, if you talk about colleges these days, and I went to TAPME recently, Mahesh Business School, confidence level of kids there, their awareness about GCC, their awareness about different models of GCC, and then comfort to talk to leaders like me, like we are like much more older to them, but they were very comfortable talking to us, and then having a conversation for a longer period. It's not okay say hello, and like in our time we used to say hello, and we were not able to crack the conversation with such big leaders. There was a hesitation, but there was no hesitation. They were so comfortable. Knowing more, their curiosity level to know more about how it works, how we are spending teams and all was really great. I was amazed with that experience.
Super. coming back to that one, so do you see this one in all the cities, or it's only in the tier 1 cities, or is level changes between the Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Pune ecosystems, or tier 2, tier 3 cities further
See, it's
changes?
evolving everywhere.
Yeah.
So where tier 3 or tier 2 were probably 10 years back, they have evolved, versus where metro cities or tier 1 were 5 years back, they have again evolved further. So evolution is happening probably in a 10x fold for tier 2 cities, and probably 5x for tier 1 and metro cities.
And for me, is like kind of I can the development in the probably the infrastructure, physical and the digital infrastructure. At some point of time, I think the line between the tier 1, tier 2 is actually diminishing.
Yeah, because connectivity, highways are becoming better, your air connections and all between metro cities and tier 2, as far as they are seamless, it doesn't make too much of difference.
That's right, and it becomes, even the cost wise, tier 2 is not tier 2 anymore. It is on par with tier 1 most of the time. And if I take a Bangalore suburb, somewhere 60 kilometers away from Bangalore, do you consider it as a tier 2 or Bangalore? So that it has become that way. It's becoming, the circle becoming bigger and
definitions
bigger.
are getting blurred and boundaries of cities are expanding significantly. I can talk from Gurgaon. So Gurgaon was a very, very small city which I could cover on my bicycle, and I used to cover entire Gurgaon city on bicycle.
Okay.
Now you can't even imagine to cover that Gurgaon city on your two-wheeler. You need probably entire day from going from one corner to another.
Okay.
Like radius of Gurgaon city or definition of Gurgaon city has evolved so much now.
Okay.
So which used to be probably a holiday destination. I still remember we used to go for picnic there with all like my cousins and everybody during summer or winter breaks.
Okay.
Sona. Now Sona is part of Gurgaon.
Okay.
And again, it's not only for Gurgaon, it is same for all cities, but I can talk more from Gurgaon because that is where I have seen and I have grown.
Fantastic. I'm from Chennai, Delhi and Bangalore. Very interesting combination. But whoever is watching this, like, just need to get into that. If they want to decide a city, I know it's like kind of, it's not a big go to Bangalore, go to Hyderabad, go to Noida, or go to Pune. I'm not asking that sense, but like generally to visualize, I need to set up a GCC. What city should I need to pick up? What are the criteria which generally a GCC parent company should look for?
Scale and skill plays a very, very important role or key parameter for you to decide the city.
Okay.
Okay, if your scale is bigger and you are looking for emerging skills, I would say still tier 1 cities should be your first preference to start with the GCC.
Okay.
However, your scale is not that big, but skills are emerging, still you can manage with the smaller or tier 2 cities.
Okay.
Tier 3 cities still a little far away from GCs to start their first center. It could be your satellite center, it could be your secondary center, but first center has to be in tier 1 or tier 2 in my point of view.
Okay.
And as I said, purely depends on the scale and skill what you are looking for.
I completely agree with that. And if the scale is large, you're going to go probably with more than one city. You're going to go simultaneously into at least 2 cities, which is what we did at Carelon.
Yes.
We set up in Bangalore and Hyderabad. Hyderabad followed less than a year later. Very, very quickly we set up in Hyderabad as well.
Okay.
And today I believe you've got it in
And
Gurgaon
our
as
first
well.
induction program in Hyderabad was not less than a wedding.
Okay.
We booked the auditorium for onboarding about 300 plus associates on one day.
Okay. That's possible for you in India.
But there is another aspect that we have to take into account. Actually, 2 aspects. Yeah, so it's not an easy answer. And the 2 aspects that we have to take into account are productivity. And by productivity, I know we have work from home, but there is still a large value to be placed on the ability of teams to come together. That bonding element is absolutely crucial. It doesn't have to be every day, but that piece is crucial. But if you have commutes which take you 2 hours every day, I mean, for me, that's a big consideration because it disrupts family life. It disrupts productivity in the organization. So I think that's one. The second is the propensity of people to stay in the organization. A city like Chennai, for example, I think these are recorded things. I think overall you'll find the attrition levels are to be a little lower than you would find it in other large cities. And for me, these will be additional criteria to absolutely look at, in addition to what you talked about.
Absolutely.
I can talk on that subject on the Chennai thing. It's an interesting thing. Um, it's not about like other cities. For Chennai, what has happened is it has become more mostly homegrown. The mobility of labor coming into Chennai and the mobility of labor going out of Chennai has almost like kind of very less compared to all other cities, and that has created even an ecosystem that like, okay, let me stick to a company and I don't want to leave. That's one of the reasons.
Yeah, and then it's true for a lot of other cities also. For example, Chandigarh, Mohali or Panchkula, that triangle.
correct.
People living in that area don't want to come
They
out.
don't want to come out. That's right.
Okay, and there are not too many opportunities, which means at least in those cities your retention rate is very high.
True.
People don't leave at all. Okay, similarly, if you go to cities like when I go to one of our vendor partner UST to their Trivandrum office, everybody is working from 25 years. It's very rare when I hear somebody say less than 24 years during any meeting, because they all are in that same region, and it has a lot to do with the company culture also. Not taking credit away.
Okay.
But then some of these cities have that charm where people stay back, and again it's a homegrown talent in those cities.
Okay, and the entrepreneurial journey, which I always talk about it, because a GCCpreneur or a GCC leader, site leader, is more like an entrepreneur, because every process, everything, it has to be there. Plus, a level of interest needs to be there to increase the value proposition for the GCC, and also work with principals in US in such a way that one is, it's a organizational relationship. The other way of looking at it is like there is a level of cross boundary operation, so which means there is a ethical dealing also is important in terms of moving with the cross boundaries. So with all these things, I thought like at some point of time there will be a shortage of leadership in India as far as a GCCpreneur is concerned, but it's not it's like there are quite a few people are coming out, and it's scaling so high. What's one big reasons you guys find in that the quality of GCCpreneur is improving day by day and increasing, and the supply is more and more?
I think one big credit I will give is to India. Historically, culturally, we are very keen to learn, we are very keen to perform, and we take pride in doing things. And we are today the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, over 100 unicorns. And something to be really proud about. And therefore, I think it's now in the blood of the Indian system. There is this fantastic word that everybody talks about, jugaad. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. We are bred from the time we are born. This is ingrained into us. You've got to find a way, and that seeps into our culture. It seeps into our willingness and ability, and a lot of parental pressure also to get into good engineering colleges or good colleges, good schools, etc. Come out with a very good academic qualification. All of these things simply combine, and peer pressure, to make sure that this thing happens. I think, therefore, I'm giving the credit to India.
Okay.
The way we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing is I use different term. I say competitive spirit of Indians is very high due to our large population, and then also attitude of dekhi jayegi.
Okay.
Okay, you don't always go by standard operating procedures.
Okay.
Okay, you get into thing and then figure it out how to do it.
Okay.
I think that is unique attribute of India.
Should all the GCCs now look beyond just a cost optimization to look into these intrinsic values which are getting into India? For most of the companies, they want to look into.
So if you look, are you saying from a leadership perspective?
Not only leadership, building the ecosystem on the leadership, ecosystem provided by so many integrators,
right.
And the ecosystem which is provided in the GCC world, right, overall, and the emergence of so many cities at this point of time, so which gives even more interesting. So with all the scale, I'm talking about.
Right. So what are the reasons why India is a magnet today? Okay, and I'll say India is now a magnet. Okay, you've got 1,800 GCCs, the number is projected to grow very aggressively, blah, blah, blah. There are so many benefits that you get out of here, tremendous value to be had. We don't talk enough about the potential of global leadership out of India. Right, and while NASSCOM does give some numbers, there are 6,500 global leaders, etc. I think the potential for that global leadership is significantly more, and it goes back into the times of when earlier when we were doing our MBA, people would aspire to go to companies like Hindustan Levers and things of that sort. Why? Because Hindustan Levers, when they hired you, they gave you an opportunity to go to other countries, give you that global exposure. Then you come back and you become somebody senior. A lot of the folks who've gone into companies like Procter & Gamble, for example, have got their exposure and they've come back. And all of these people are coming from good business schools out of India. So the potential for getting true global leaders from India is huge and significant. And you can see that in the number of people who are heading companies in the United States itself. So multiply that 100-fold from India, and that's the potential we're looking at.
Yes.
No, I think Anilesh summarized it so beautifully.
Professor, so this is a different proposition.
Fully agree with what Anilesh said on this point. No different thoughts.
Okay.
I think India is a magnet for GCC and talent.
Okay. So I would probably say by 2027 to 2030, say the services industry, close to about 70 to 80% of the world services market would be here.
Okay, that's something I haven't thought about. I think it's a good ambitious target, but it's tough.
Okay.
And then there are few things which we need to change significantly, if I have to add that, though that's not your question. But still I believe some of the GCs are still running behind numbers.
True.
Okay, we really need to change that number perspective and focus more on value, and then also identifying one unique proposition for your GCC which no one else can provide. Unless you have that one USP, it's very difficult for you to sustain and grow.
Okay, fantastic. So with that, I don't have much to deliberate. I think a lot information which came into this one. Pleasure meeting both of you, and in fact we have to catch up one more discussion, which obviously not just about one side of one particular healthcare type business or things like that. It's much beyond that, like how truly a company get the value out of India. It can be a leadership, it can be even beyond that one, which is like kind of the AI world which is happening right now. The bots, human bots, or it can be anything else, so which they can look for India. We'll have one more round of discussions at a future date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pawan.
That was a very interesting conversation on a Friday morning from IIM Bangalore. For all our viewers, thank you so much for watching us. We will see you in another episode of Dexian Talks very soon.
We are Dexian, in the business for good.